today is the day of release for American Revolutionary War Patriots buried in Jackson County, Michigan, Linda Haas and David Van Hoof. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bart.
Yeah, and congratulations on your brand new book.
Thank you. It's really exciting to be able to offer this. I think David and I both feel that this is a perhaps uncelebrated part of Jackson's history, not really explored that much. Thankfully for the DAR, people are aware of it, but this 160-page softcover book really delves into the lives of 22 Revolutionary War veterans.
22?
22 that either lived in Jackson or are buried in Jackson. And it looks at the experiences they had in the war, from the Battle of Bunker Hill to one was a spy. Their stories are fascinating. It looks at what drew them to Jackson, Michigan in their sunset years. Why here? Why did they come here? What they did when they were in the community and where they were buried. We have a map in the back that shows exactly where they are in the county, the different cemeteries, a resource guide, dozens of pictures. So it's just very exciting.
How many books now is this for you, Linda?
This is my special one. This is my favorite one. Maybe 5.
5 books by Linda Haas.
I have to tell you whose idea it was, David Van Hoof.
And here he is. Linda, of course, well known as a historian. In fact, Jackson's official historian. But David, I didn't know you were a big history buff.
Well, Bart, as you recall back in, I don't know if you were here in Jackson at the bicentennial, and as a kid growing up here, I remember we painted fire hydrants. And then it wasn't until afterwards, you know, I had learned that there were actual patriots buried here, and I go, well, how did we miss this? I mean, and then, you know, having retired from the Marine Corps, I came back home and got involved with the Michigan Society Sons of the American Revolution and proved my lineage. And then I just started, you know, visiting the patriots around here, and then I learned that you can find their pension applications at the National Archives. So I started pulling them up, and you know, and it was just incredible, the detail of what they would write of their experiences. And I go, why hasn't this been captured and presented to the American population so that they can see, you know, these experiences? Because you learn in high school about the Washington crossing the Delaware. Well, there's patriots, they'll talk about how it was just a thing. It just happened, and we got to the other side, and it was cold and rainy, and we went into some trees until it was over, and then we had to walk down an icy road to Trenton and fight the Hessians. And it's just amazing that these details are not out there.
Well, what's surprising to me is the Revolutionary War predates Jackson.
Indeed, 1776 to 1783, and Jackson was founded in 1830. So at the time that this pivotal war was being fought, Jackson wasn't even a glimmer in anybody's eyes. In fact, Michigan was just a rough, you know, wilderness, a howling wilderness is what they called the area at the time. It is interesting how what draws people to certain places over time and the trails that they lead. And one of the things that makes this book so special right now is that our country will celebrate its 250th anniversary next July in terms of our independence. So this book is getting the party started early. We are leading the charge in terms of the spirit of celebration, and we're using this as a kind of a springboard to head into this really very special time. It's going to be a time of national celebration, and Jackson was connected to it. Makes it special.
No one from Jackson went and fought in the Revolutionary War.
That's correct. But but these patriots in their sunset years came to Jackson for a variety of reasons, and we go into it into the book.
Now, in your research, did you talk to any descendants of any of those people? Really?
Yes. Yes. Swartout was one name that was patriot, and is still, the name Swartout is still in Jackson today. I talked to a descendant, and there was another descendant that I talked to as well. Both of them were aware of their lineage. So it was a real, I like to say, history has come full circle when you can bring it into the present and see how it affects their descendants today. And they were quite proud of it. Yeah.
Well, I know how difficult it was for you to unearth a lot of the Civil War history.
Yeah.
It must have been 10 times harder.
Go ahead, David. Yeah.
Actually, when you got a process in place and you could knew where things were at, you know, it really wasn't that difficult. First thing is, we found the Patriot where they were buried. And you confirmed that that individual's a Patriot. And then it was a matter of just working with the National Archives, and, you know, the internet really made things a lot easier. And then it was a matter of establishing whether this Patriot buried here is this Patriot in these documents. And so that was the hard part. But once you got that accomplished, it just flowed from there. And so and then you get more curious and more interested, and you just, you know, it snowballs. And so it's actually, like Linda said, a labor of love.
Was there any one of these Patriots that you found that had maybe a bigger part in the Revolutionary War, or were connected to a particular battle or a particular leader?
Well, I can tell you about the Battle of Bunker Hill, and one of our Patriots was in the Battle of Bunker Hill. And this is such a fascinating aspect of history, is that the Patriots had established this perimeter at the top of a hill, and the British were advancing on it because they wanted to subdue them. You know, they had our Patriots had the high ground. So first launch, they were afraid that there was limited ammunition, and they said, don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. That's where that expression comes from. We have to keep our ammunition, use it very sparingly. And they waited until they were at point blank range and then shot. Well, the British retreated. Third time up the hill, our Patriots were pretty out of ammunition. They, rather than leave, they decided to fight with their bayonets. So it reminds me of the Untouchables. You never go to a gunfight with a knife, because you're going to lose. But these guys were so determined they wouldn't leave, and they were going to defend it, you know, at all costs. The British did end up prevailing, but Swift Woodworth, I believe the Patriot's name was, survived to go and fight another day, and he's one of the ones that came to Jackson.
I would guess all the people you wrote about, they didn't die in the Revolutionary War.
Correct. That is correct. They were wounded, they were maimed, but they didn't die. They lived to incredible old ages, some up to 97 before medicine, before anything.
You've got a map in here.
Yeah.
Because they're not all buried like you would think in like Green.
Throughout the town, throughout the county.
All over.
Yeah.
All over the county.
I need to mention one thing before I forget, and this is really important. We have a lot of fascinating events coming up this summer, May and June, and there's one event that's open to the public, even you if you want to come. Saturday, June 21st, PEO, an organization that I belong to, is hosting a public cemetery tour. Saturday, June 21st, 10 a.m., the buses leave St. Paul's parking lot. David and I are going to introduce some of these Patriots with the tombstones as the backdrop of the story. Go back to St. Paul's for a PowerPoint and lunch, and that is open to the public. And if they're interested in that, they can email me. I can give you the email address if that's okay.
Sure, please do.
LAHASS@sbcglobal.net. And I think that'll be one way for the whole public to celebrate this fascinating part of our history.
Awesome. Well, it sounds amazing. And I had no idea until you showed up today with your book that this was a thing.
Definitely.
Good idea on your part.
Yeah, it was just came out of the blue, and I ran into Linda at the Civil War muster, and I told her, hey, there's Patriots buried here, we should do something about it. And she goes, well, let's collaborate on a book, and here we are.
I think you mentioned something to me about that a long time ago. So it's been
In the
percolating.
background, yeah.
Now there's no photography back in the Revolutionary War days, of course, but you do have, it's richly illustrated with
Indeed.
drawings, and you do have some photos.
I do have photos. Actually, they're reproductions of famous paintings of battle scenes, and the paintings are historically accurate. We have photos of the tombstones. I hired an artist to do a sketch of based on the description of his outfit, so it's really well illustrated.
Yeah, it looks like, was that George Washington?
The Spirit of 76, I think, was the image that was just up. And I'm not sure who the Patriots are, but it shows all the ages involved. The very young, the old timer in the middle there, and the guy, the middle-aged person. And it just shows the spirit of defiance that characterized this particular war. It's called The Spirit of 76, famous painting.
And it kind of goes into a number of our patriots were very young. They were 15, 16,
Yeah.
17.
Yeah.
And again, they were the ones that were the musicians. And so you had patriots where it was generational. You had a son with his father and his grandfather all serving at the same time. And I think the Spirit of 76 reflects that very well.
Part of celebrating America's 250th, a great way to offer tribute to those patriots and also our community.
Indeed.
I can't wait to read it.
Good.
And for everyone else who wants to read this, it's available.
You can buy it online at our publisher, History Press. Just Google History Press and the title of the book. You can also get the books at Forgotten Antiques Mall at the old commercial center. You can buy them there, and then we're working with other distributors locally.
Great. Well, good luck with the book, and thanks for all the work
Thank
you
you.
did, again, preserving our community's history.
Thanks for having us, Bart.
Yeah, pleasure.
Make plans to be on that bus tour on
Thank you.
June 21st. Thanks to the authors, Linda Haas and David Van Hoof. We've